nothing quite like a Royal Rumble, is there? There's something about it, something unique. I've been a wrestling fan for as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time from before it was part of my life. Growing up, there was just nothing like it. I was never interested in football or rugby, it was always just wrestling. Wrestling had certain aspects that appealed to me that no other sport could provide. The combination of sports and theatre. I was captivated from a young age by the spectacle, the twists and turns, and the roar of the crowd. Nothing could compare to wrestling, and nothing embodied all those things more than a Royal Rumble. North Wrestling is hosting its first ever Rumble match, the Rumble for the Cup. The winner will receive the first spot in their annual NCL Cup tournament. But what exactly is a Rumble match? The Royal Rumble match and a traditional Battle Royal share many common elements, but their differences lie in the structure of the match. The aim of both is to throw your opponents over the top rope, eliminating them from the action. A traditional Battle Royal sees all 20 men start in the ring simultaneously, but the Royal Rumble is different. It deviates from this format by adding intervals between the entrants. Instead of 20 or 30 men starting in the ring, only 2 start. As time passes, more and more competitors enter the match at set intervals, all seeking to throw their opponents over the top rope and be the last one standing at the end of the night. It's this genius twist of the Royal Rumble that creates a match like no other. The crowd doesn't know the order of the competitors, so they're unaware of who's going to step out from behind the curtain when the buzzer goes. This means their favourite wrestler could start the match and have to go the distance, or arrive at the final spot and potentially cruise to an easy victory.
When you look around at the crowd here at North, you see families, you see die-hard fans who never miss a show, and you see people here for the very first time, and they've all come out to watch the Rumble. That is the power of the Rumble. People around the world come to wrestling to watch a Rumble.
With so many big personalities, a limited amount of time, and so much that could go wrong, how does it all fit together?
You essentially work out who it is that you want to have. You know that those guys have probably only got a small window to kind of show what they can do. From my point of view, lining them up and saying, this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through to like 20 in our case. It's really interesting to see who can kind of stand out in like a complete melee of bodies. A lot of the guys we were using, and it will be in most Rumbles, is like, then they haven't really had a chance to shine yet, or they're kind of like lower card, as you were. So when they kind of come through, they have that moment of like kind of thrusting themselves through this literal mess of bodies. I think it's really interesting to kind of to see who can kind of step up to that. The logistical side of stuff is hard, but to then see it like play out in the way that it did is, testament to the people who are involved.
But what is it about the Rumble match that brings people together? Why does the Rumble kick off the busiest period of wrestling? What makes the Royal Rumble special? It's a hard question to answer really, and it's also quite a personal one too. So I wanted to find out what makes the Royal Rumble special to me. To fully understand why it stands out to me as my favourite match, I decided to travel home to Scotland and take a trip down memory lane. I went back home to explore my childhood memories and why wrestling and the Rumble played such a big part in my life.
So this was my childhood bedroom. I moved out back in 2019, so it's been a while since I actually lived here, and it's been a while since this was my room. So it feels kind of weird. This isn't my bed, this isn't my stuff. But when I did live here, my bed was up against that wall there. I had a TV on that wall. I'd watch the wrestling. And that's kind of what this room was to me. This is my space. This is my area. This is where I came to watch the wrestling. And I'd watch pretty much every single show. I had my PlayStation over in that corner attached to the TV. And without fail, every single Christmas, I get a brand new WWE game. It was the one gift every single year that I really, really wanted. And my parents would get me it. Wait months and months to unwrap it on Christmas Day. The first thing I'd do is I'd run up the stairs and I'd play a Royal Rumble.
My family was never into wrestling, so my love of it came from my friends in primary school. I have very fond memories of going to the house of my childhood best friend Michael to watch wrestling after school. I unfortunately didn't have the channels, but he did. And after we watched all the wrestling we could, we would of course reenact the matches ourselves. It's been a while since I caught up with Michael, but being back home brought back memories, so I decided to reach out to him for a catch-up. Me and Michael went completely different paths with our relationship to wrestling. While my love of it only grew and grew to be what it is today, Michael lost touch with it and finds himself outside of the current product, only tuning in for the Royal Rumble to recapture a taste of our childhood. I hadn't seen Michael in years, but the memories came flooding back.
We loved it. We absolutely loved it. We like worshipped it. We were like watching it on television, play the little figures, PlayStation. You had the wee cards as well, remember the little cards? So I always remembered the John Cena one where he comes back and he's standing like that. Legendary moment.
Myself and Michael bonded over the 2008 Rumble. At 9 years old, we were really at the peak of our John Cena fandom, so it gave us the biggest feel-good ending imaginable. The memories of us watching it as kids, the incredible amount of talent in that iteration of the match, and of course, Cena's legendary return in Madison Square Garden make the 2008 version of the match genuinely hard to top for me. I consider it to be one of my favourite Royal Rumbles ever, but I'm not alone in that feeling. It also holds a special place in the heart of Dylan Postel, formerly known as WWE's Hornswoggle, as not only was he in the Rumble match, but it was his debut in the iconic stipulation.
Royal Rumble has always been my favorite pay-per-view. It's funny that it's so cliche to say, but Royal Rumble has always been my favorite. That's becoming the new thing to talk about. But it truly was. Growing up, I loved it. I'm a professional wrestler because of action figures. I just recently came to terms with that, and I would always do Royal Rumbles with my figures. And it's just sort of be told that I was going to be in the Royal Rumble in 2008, in the midst of the Vince's son storyline and all that. Man, it was insane to me. It was just crazy. And then have it be at the Garden, and Michael Buffer is ring announcing, and it's just incredible. It really, really was like, man, this is gonna be cool. And then the countdown as I'm right behind the doors that are gonna open, and the countdown for that, and I'm like shaking at this point and going, please don't boo me, or please don't be upset that it's me at this entrant. I'm just thinking like, oh man, whoever has me in the Rumble pool is going to be really pissed off. It truly was just like a pinch me moment of the countdown happening into my intro. It was just awesome.
To understand why the Rumble is so highly regarded by wrestling fans today, you have to look back at its beginnings. In early 1988, WWE was set to host a USA Network special, going head-to-head with Jim Crockett's Bunkhouse Stampede. But NBC executive Dick Ebersol was not convinced by the plan Vince McMahon had set for the show. He found it unappealing and felt that there was something missing. Grasping at straws, McMahon turned to Pat Patterson to tell Ebersol about, quote, his stupid idea for that Battle Royal. Wanting to know more, I reached out to wrestling historian and the man behind the UK's most successful wrestling magazine, Power Slam, Finlay Martin.
It was Pat Patterson's idea. I mean, he had obviously worked for the Roy Shire's San Francisco territory for many years in his early days back in the 1970s. Well, actually begun his career before that, but that's where he became a main eventer for Roy Shire in San Francisco. And the San Francisco territory would run a Battle Royal, and that was a big draw. But as the years passed, Battle Royals just became so commonplace that they were no longer the draw they had been. Very much like the cage match. Back in the 70s and even into the 80s, the cage match was the ultimate feud-ending match, a big draw. It wasn't the draw that it had been due to overuse. So War Games was created, and then, of course, 10 years later, Hell in a Cell was created for the same reason that Cage just didn't have that box office muscle that it once had. So yeah, the same applied to the Royal Rumble. Pat Patterson realised that the Battle Royal didn't have the same drawing power as it used to have, so it needed to be modified, it needed to be updated, it needed a fresh coat of paint, and he came up with the Royal Rumble, which was originally a 12-man match, of course, in the St. Louis match, but a 30-man match at the original Royal Rumble event in 1988. 2 men would start, and then another man would then enter every 2 minutes. There would be a constant turnover of talent. talent, and it was just more exciting. You'd have that countdown to who was coming out next. So you had that anticipation of who would enter the Rumble match next, who would enter first, who would enter last, and, you know, who would win. So I think there was just more you could do with that concept than you could with the Battle Royal, in which like 20 men or 30 men or even sometimes 40 men would start the Battle Royal. You know, they'd all fight at once, and then you get down to the last sort of half a dozen people, and then maybe it would really pick up steam. But when you had this sort of sea of humanity in the ring, there was less they could do. It was kind of boring at the beginning. But with the Royal Rumble, you had that constant flow, that constant turnover of talent, and it was a far more exciting match.
The stipulation at heart is quite simple. There's something a bit playground or a little bit schoolyard about it, where it's like king of the hill or winner stays on kind of thing. So I think anybody could watch it and get it immediately, maybe even more simply than having to win by pinfall or submission. You've got to throw someone over the top rope and then they're out and the last one in wins. It really doesn't get more simple than that. And when people say the whole thing about if you could watch one wrestling match to try and, if you could show a non-wrestling fan one match to get them into wrestling, I think a Royal Rumble would be a very safe bet. My earliest memories of watching WWE specifically was the year 2000, but I didn't see a Rumble until the 2002 Royal Rumble. I think that was my first one. And by that point, as a child, Triple H was my favourite wrestler, so it was obviously really exciting to see my guy win the Royal Rumble. I think the moment that sticks with me the most from that Rumble is probably when Maven eliminated The Undertaker. I think that's quite a symbol or a microcosm of why the Rumble is so special sometimes, because in a singles match, you'd never give Maven a shot against The Undertaker, but the Rumble kind of levels everything out. Even though you can often tell who's going to do well in a Rumble, in theory, anything can happen. And I think the fact that Maven eliminated Taker, even though he got beaten up by him afterwards, I think that elimination sticks in people's mind as a real magic Royal Rumble moment.
It's clear that these moments, made possible by the Rumble's unique stipulation, remain fond memories for many wrestling fans. But they're also key landmarks in the histories of countless wrestlers. I wanted to find out what those moments are like from the man Jack mentioned here.
My experience of the Royal Rumble is obviously, it's how I got my start. It's what gave me a career. The Rumble to me is it's everything. It's an amazing match because the unknown of it. You go into a Rumble and you obviously have 30 competitors, and we've had winners come from spot 1, you've had winners come from spot 30. So going into it, you never know where the victor is going to come from. And it's just a great match each and every year because different stories can be told, different stories throughout the match. You can follow along, or you can have an unknown like me have that one moment that fans are going to be talking about years later. The Rumble gave me my start. The Rumble is a match that's always going to be close to my heart. And I always know when the Rumble is coming because people let me know each and every year. They start remembering what I did with Undertaker and what I was able to accomplish. I look forward to the Rumble each year because I want to see who the next person making a memory like that, who that person is going to be.
I love the creativity that we've seen in the Royal Rumble over the years. But because you've now got 2 Rumbles a year, you can have some fun with the concept, which I think they were very nervous to do before. It was 2020, where Brock Lesnar eliminated the first 13 or so people on his own. Like half the Rumble was stripped bare before we even got halfway through. And so therefore when Drew McIntyre became the saving grace who eliminated Brock Lesnar, it just meant the moment where he won the whole thing was even sweeter.
Drew McIntyre winning the 2020 Royal Rumble was a moment that really relit my love of wrestling. In late 2019, I'd kind of become fatigued with it in general, but seeing a man that I'd followed from his run as the Chosen One to 3MB, to the UK independent scene and back to WWE, and now winning a Rumble, it kind of felt like I'd been on that journey with him too. And of course, you couple that with the incredible return of Edge. Of course, my love of wrestling was back. And it's those incredible moments that really, really stand out, like Hogan and your Warrior, your Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. And in 2016, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
2016 was pretty crazy. We had, we had the moment in the Royal Rumble. We were our first WrestleMania together. And then, we spent several months going at it, having, matches on Raw, matches on SmackDown, matches on pay-per-view. It was pretty special. And it really, showed. It was a great way to kind of show everyone, you know, in the WWE audience, what we were made of and what we were capable of. It's tricky if you're in a Royal Rumble match. There's 30 people in there, you know, so you're competing with 29 other men or women to be the most memorable part of the night, not even mentioning the other matches on the show. It cultivates creativity and, you know, trying to be different, trying to make your mark. That's kind of a big part of what makes the Rumble so exciting as well. It just brings the best out in people. In 2016, I had a match with Dean Ambrose earlier that night, and that was a great time. And then, you know, getting to come out in the Rumble, it was kind of shocking for people to see both of us hobble in there. So that was a great moment. And then, you know, I got to be in the ring with Sammy. I got to be in the ring with AJ. That was his first night in. So there's, you know, a lot of special moments for that first Rumble. So it's a great memory for sure. Just being in it, pretty exciting. I don't think I'm going to be in it again this year. But, you know, that's just how things shake out. Again, it's just cool. Even when you're in the ring and you hear the countdown, you don't know who's coming out. So it's still like, you still get the same sense you get as a fan, except, oh, I'm going to have to fight this guy. But it's great. It's just, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just such a fun concept. That's really all it comes down to.
The 2024 Royal Rumble will go down as one of the most memorable events in recent history. To celebrate that fact, Cultaholic travelled to London to partner up with Hooked on Wrestling for a very special event.
Cultaholic has been invited down to London to Box Park at Wembley to co-host the biggest watch party in the entire UK for the Royal Rumble. Over 550 people are going to be packed into Box Park to watch the Royal Rumble. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to count down every 2 minutes from 10.
The community that professional wrestling has fostered is never more unified and together than it is with the Royal Rumble. Around the world, people gather to celebrate and enjoy the annual event. The surprises, the twists and turns, the incredible highs, and the crushing lows. The Royal Rumble is incomparable. It's more than just a match or a pay-per-view. It's a time for wrestling fans to come together and celebrate their shared love for the sport, to fully embrace being a fan of wrestling and ride the high that watching the Royal Rumble provides. The Royal Rumble stands out as a truly special and iconic event, one that's captured the hearts of wrestling fans for over 35 years. Its unique concept, which has been able to blend athleticism, theatrics, and the element of surprise, is unparalleled in the world of wrestling. It has this ability to keep an audience on the edge of their seats, regardless of whether this is their first time watching wrestling or their 1000th time watching wrestling. And that's part of the magic of it, its simplicity. Anybody who sees a Rumble match understands what's happening, can follow it, and can get invested in what they see. 30 wrestlers enter with the aim of throwing each other over the top rope until only one remains. It doesn't get more simple than that. It's become this timeless tradition every January, a signal to die-hard fans, lapsed fans, and first-time watchers that WWE is about to begin its busiest period of the year and kickstart the road to WrestleMania. Essentially, it's WWE's season premiere. The Royal Rumble is more than just a match. It's a cornerstone of wrestling that has left a lasting impact and legacy since its inception. It's maybe wrestling's greatest invention.
Not only does it transcend WWE, it transcends pro wrestling as a whole.
It showcases all the talent of all the generations across WWE.
I just love the surprise. Every year you just don't know who's going to turn up.
You don't know who's going to make an impression in the ring that you might not have seen before.
It's unpredictable, and wrestling is at its best when it's unpredictable.
It is the gateway drug to wrestling fandom. You can bring a non-wrestling fan to the Rumble and they'll get it. They'll enjoy it, and it's how I got into wrestling fandom.
You tick all the boxes. It's probably the best match in the world.
I grew up watching wrestling with my dad and my granddad, and I don't have many memories with them, but some of the memories that I do have is watching wrestling. I love it, and it's been a great night, and I'm glad I've been able to be a part of it. It's something that is very unique, and you don't find it anywhere else. So it's amazing.